These are this afternoon's top stories. Good afternoon and welcome to the ZIZ Mid newscast for today, Friday, the 26th of June. I am Via Galloway. Music Fest kicks off. The 19th annual St. Kitts Music Festival got off to a flying start on Thursday night with homegrown and regional actions showcasing the diverse musical styles of the Caribbean. First up was the Odyssey Band out of Nevis, who brought a lineup of their biggest hits to entertain the fans. They were followed by Haitian compa band T-Vice, who brought their signature style and some Latin covers to bring a diverse sound to the crowd. And the Latin flavor continued as Tono Rosario and his band took the stage with a string of merengue hits. Both T-Vice and Rosario brought a strong section of followers to the front of the crowd, made up mainly of members of the Haitian and Dominican communities. Smolak's band were next on the stage, bringing an electrifying performance of their classic and recent hits. By this time, the crowd at Warner Park had swelled to a significant size, and the patrons crowded the front of the stage, all dancing to the sounds of the Smolak's band. Next on the lineup was the Roy Cape All-Stars, with lead vocalist Blacks and Ricardo Drew. They kept the high-energy performance going with a number of hits and a cover of Smolak's Bottom in the Road. The All-Stars also provided backup for Patrice Roberts with hits like A Little Wine and A Feeling Myself, and the audience jumping and waving. Roberts ended her set by introducing St. Kitts' reigning groovy soca monarch, Mr. Bagnall. He began his setup with an extended version of Carnival Boss before transitioning to his other songs, sending his fans into a frenzy. Ben Jai was next, performing a series of covers and originals, ending with his hit, Phenomenal. Corwin Dubois brought down the curtains on Thursday night's performance with a string of songs that had the audience waving flags and rags and singing along. The 19th annual St. Kitts Music Festival continues Friday night, that's tonight, with Island Explosion featuring As One Band, Trebler, Zimemphis Kiddas, Jafaya, Footsie, Nichibi, Mudstony, and international performers Christopher Martin, Bounty Killer, Aswad, and Ciara. Hundreds of daycare and preschool-age children marched and danced through the streets of Bastille today for the biggest event on the 2015 Child Month calendar. The annual Child Month Parade commenced in Greenlands and culminated at Independence Square in the capital city. This year, the Early Childhood Unit facilitated a number of activities, many of which were organized based on daycare center zones. Among this month's activities were church services, concerts, and a torch run. Child Month 2015 is being observed under the theme, Serving Children with Love and Dignity. We move now to news regionally, where the OECS is reducing disaster risk vulnerabilities. The Commission of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States has assessed the communities in St. Lucia which are most vulnerable to extreme climate-related events and will soon embark on a project to assist them. The Commission, with the assistance of the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility, is ensuring that national and community-level partners validate the assessments. On Thursday, those partners also provided input into the development of action plans for those communities. Alison Kentish of HTS News has more in this report.
While the Caribbean is vulnerable to natural disasters such as hurricanes and earthquakes, some communities on the islands are more vulnerable than others. The OECS Commission and the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility have carried out vulnerability assessments in 3 communities, Micoud, Ancillary, and Dennery. Disaster management specialist Keith Ford says the team of experts examined the physical factors that make these communities vulnerable, as well as any underlying socio-economic issues. He says flooding remains the most serious hazard for these communities.
What was interesting is that although landslide does not occur in the communities themselves, they play an important role because the landslides in the interior are what is silting up the rivers, and that is what is causing the widespread flooding in the community. For example, in Micoud, they indicated that since the 2013 trough, the river bed has been raised by some 12 feet. And in Dennery, they indicated that the riverbed has been raised by some 8 feet. And that's from silt coming down from the interior. So, as I say, landslides not in the community, but it is one of the aggravating factors.
The one-day meeting brought together community, national and regional partners. Program Officer at the OECS Commission, Joan Norville, says it hopes to assist in the drafting and adoption of programs that minimize the social, economic and environmental damage wrought by natural disasters.
We have invited the communities that will assess to be there so that they too can validate and speak to their vulnerabilities. And we have invited national agencies, for example, Ministry of Infrastructure, Social Transformation, that work with these communities and that would normally help them to address some of the problems and the issues that have been identified.
According to the OECS Commission, recent extreme weather events include a prolonged drought and Hurricane Tomas in 2010 and the December 2013 trough. These events resulted in death, millions of dollars in losses, and damage to natural resources. This project is hoping to put in place tools that can help to not only recover from such disasters, but to make the communities less vulnerable to begin with.
We move now to news internationally. With the AIB agreement to be signed next week, the prospective founding members of the China-led Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank are set to sign the bank's Articles of Agreement on June 29 in Beijing. The document sets the bank's rules and bylaws. The document set the rules and bylaws. We hear more.
Earlier, a Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson said President Xi Jinping will meet with the heads of the delegation in Beijing on Monday. The AIIB is expected to be officially established at the end of 2015. The bank, which has 57 prospective founding members, including the UK and Australia, will be based in Beijing. It aims to narrow down Asia's infrastructure gaps by providing financing for infrastructure projects in the region.
The AIB is designed to finance infrastructure construction in the continent. It will have authorized capital of $100 billion and the initial subscribed capital is expected to be around $50 billion. After signing the agreement, representatives of prospective founding members will bring the agreement back to their countries for legal adoption processes, according to the Chinese Finance Ministry. The bank, which will be headquartered in Beijing, is expected to be officially established at the end of 2015. And Indonesia's Mount Sinabang has displaced more than 10,000 people in North Sumatra. Al Jazeera's Stephanie Decker, reporting from the nearby town of Brastagi, said a dark cloud of smoke covered the sun after dull thud was heard the third time for the week.
A little dark. It is starting to clear. Just about 10 minutes ago we heard a dull thud, and then that smoke cloud slowly started to come this way. It sort of covered the sky, covered the sun, and it's kind of clearing up now. That's the third eruption this morning, so it remains very active. We spoke to a volcanologist who's closely monitoring the volcano together with the government disaster management agency. He says there's a lot of activity still in the bowels of that volcano, so that means that there is the potential for a large eruption. They're monitoring it at the moment. They're not extending the danger zone, which at its furthest at the moment is around 7 kilometers. The military is here. They are monitoring it, but he does say it's a concern. So there is a team of the government, of that disaster management agency, 3 kilometers from the top of that mountain at the moment. They're putting in monitoring devices to try and measure the activity of the volcano, to try and get a better picture of how it's going to behave, of course, to take care of the people that live in the surrounding areas. Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of the midday edition of the Newscast. You can join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for watching. I am your presenter, Veer Galloway.